This section, we're going to explore some ideas about right angle trigonometry. Now, trigonometry itself means the measurement of triangles. And it's been around for centuries in engineering, in navigation, in building, and such. And so it's a very helpful and useful tool. And therefore, it's going to be a helpful, useful tool for us to learn how to use, unpack, and solve problems with. Right angle trigonometry, we're going to explore 6 trigonometric functions, and basically they're ratios. And so maybe it's just best, let me just kind of point them on out to you. So let's imagine that we have a right triangle, 90 degrees marked or indicated by this little box right here. It's an acute triangle. And so within a right acute triangle, we have 6 different corresponding ratios that we can be interested in. So if I have certain angle over here, theta, and I'm curious about the ratio of, this side versus that side, or the ratio of those two sides and so forth, I want to designate them in some type of way that can be useful. And so that's where we got the terms sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So the functional sign of theta represents the idea where I take the opposite side versus the hypotenuse, and I'll mark that by opposite over hypotenuse, and that's a ratio of 2 sides, which is a function of the angle theta. The cosine of theta would be the side that's adjacent to it over the hypotenuse. Tangent is a ratio of the 2 legs of the triangle, the ratio of the opposite over the adjacent. Sorry, I went from lowercase to uppercase. The cosecant is a ratio of the hypotenuse over the opposite. The secant is a ratio of the hypotenuse over the adjacent side, and the cotangent is the ratio of the adjacent side over the opposite. And so those 6 trigonometric functions we need to know, memorize, and be able to look at a triangle right away and get a sense of what sine is, what cosine is. Because those measurements or those ideas will help us to understand some properties of our emerging triangle understanding that we're going to be exploring and unpacking. One other thing that I want us to kind of dust off from our memory a little bit is this Pythagorean Theorem that was also very useful in triangles. And that was the idea that the 2 adjacent sides, or the 2 sides of the leg squared, would equal the hypotenuse squared. And given that idea, along with these trigonometric functions, will help us proceed and progress through this upcoming section.